What is up, everyone? Welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. As expected, guys, we got news about the next fusion, which will start next week. Now, I'm quickly going to walk you through some details about the fusion champion and the details that Plarium actually shared with us. What I'm curious is, can we skip this fusion? Can we take a break? Or is something that is actually going to turn up to be really, really good? Because you know how it is with champions usually, if they're not support characters, is all about multipliers. And based on the past, the history of HP-based champions, I'm not feeling overall too confident. But of course, I'm gonna have to test the champion, see if he's good, if he's not. You can see him in the background. He does look pretty cool overall. But next Monday, September 22nd, they are planning to launch a fusion event of a new champion, Granyt Doorkeep. Dwarf, legendary, HP, spirit, affinity. Now, straight off the back, his affinity is the problem. He's really not the right affinity for the current meta. And considering what he does, he really leaves like a big question mark overall, right? Granyt is an arena-first brawler designed to crack open buff-heavy defenses and tear through stone skin stall teams. His aggressive kit brings consistent buff removal, bolstering his allies with powerful offensive buffs, and a heavy hitter finisher to close fights fast. Now, they are saying he is a heavy hitter. I can't remember if they said the same about Arashi, which was the fusion champion, right? If I remember it correctly. He's far from being a heavy hitter or anything like that. Then, Granyt also strips any crowd control debuffs except from ship from himself at the start of the turn, which is the most important crowd control debuff, so he won't actually remove that. Then, at the start of the turn, giving him even more reliability against disruptive teams. Beyond the arena, Granyt also holds solid PvE potential. His multi-hit A1 makes him a strong pick against Fire Knight, while his A2 brings valuable debuffs and utility for Hydra. That being said, guys, let's have a quick look at the champion. I like the design. He's kind of like a Samar Gem Cursed, I don't know, on steroids, a bit evolved, right? He does look pretty cool. I like the design. So with the A1, your Barret attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a chance of removing a random buff from the target, and each hit will ignore 20% of the target's defense. You need 3 books to go into the A1. It's nice that he has a triple hitter, and he ignores 20% of the target's defense with that. With the A2, Jode Highmaker, or however you're pronouncing that word, attacks all enemies. Before attacking, places an increased accuracy buff on all allies for 2 turns, and has a chance of placing a defense down and a block buffs debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. And he needs 5 books in this skill. Will be on a 3-turn cooldown and will have a 100% chance of landing the debuffs, which indeed makes him a pretty decent champion for the Hydra clan boss, especially if he can bring in damage. Now, we've got recently, it must have been like half a year ago, a different champion from the Orc faction, like Bells, Spirit Affinity, HP-based champion, that does a very, very similar thing. And if he deals the same damage like Bells, I'm not feeling too good about the champion, because you can just use Ugo, the epic champion, to apply the debuffs, and you don't need to invest legendary skills into them, okay? Which is a huge, huge improvement. Then, going on to the A3, Demolisher Blow. Attacks one enemy. Before attacking, removes all debuffs from the champion and places a 15% shatter buff, which will enhance the ignore defense capabilities, and a 30% increased crit damage buff on all allies for 2 turns. Now, he will buff this on your entire team, which overall is actually pretty nice. Will ignore unkillable, stone skin, and block damage buffs. If the target is not under any unkillable, stone skin, or block damage buffs, this attack will deal 100% more damage and grants an extra turn if the attack kills an enemy. It does ignore a lot of important buffs, unkillable, stone skin, and block damage. You will find that mainly in teams with Nice, in teams with Siegfried, in teams with Marichka, or we have the Void legendary champion from the Sylvan Watcher faction, Nyrisa, or however you're pronouncing her name as well. So overall, he could be good. The only problem is versus the current meta, where is so freaking dominated by Nice and Siegfried, his affinity is really not the best thing. But it's nice that he can remove the debuffs from the champion. The thing is, that is in a way or another a bit irrelevant because he is an HP based champion. You're not going to be able to decrease his damage by applying a decreased HP debuff or anything like that. So the rest of the debuffs do become a bit more irrelevant. But at the same time, it's still good that he's able to cleanse a defense down or something else. Then with a passive, at the start of this champion's turn, removes any fear, through fear, provokes, stun, freeze, sleep, and petrification debuff from the champion. I really wish Ship Polymorph would have been included in this. That would make the champion more interesting, considering that he is prone to get polymorphed based on his second skill and the debuffs that he is bringing to the fight, right? Increases this champion's damage inflicted against targets with no buffs on them by 20%. And he will have a crit rate aura for all battles. You will require a total of 11 books to get him up and running. Some of you might need this champion for Faction Wars hard mode. Some of you might think that he's going to be goated in PvP. We really need to basically check out the multipliers. If the multipliers are similar with Bells, with other similar champions, Arashi is going to be a trash champion and he's going to be an easy skip. Some of you guys might be like, oh, he's going to be so great in the Hydra clan boss. If his damage sucks, no, he's not. Like, just use Ugo, man. Defense down, block buffs. You're going to get a bit of a cleanse. You're going to get a bit of healing. You're going to get leech. Much better overall and much easier to skill up. You don't need 11 legendary books. You actually need 4. What do we have here? 9. You don't need a bunch of epic ones. 15 epic books, but at least they're much easier to get than the legendary ones. I will be doing a video on the champion, guys, as soon as I will be able to. We're going to take him in for a spin. I'm not sure exactly when we can post videos. If we have the test server and stuff, I'll have to check that. But expect to see something most likely towards the end of the week, because if the fusion starts Monday, usually we have a few days to do content before that gets released. So like this, we're going to see if the champion is worth going for or is not. Truth be told, I feel like a lot of people will need a bit of a break, right? You will need to save some more shards for a potential event for some of the turtles. I'm pretty much in the same boat as well. Heck, I might even skip this fusion. If the multipliers are not good, if his damage sucks, I'm not going to get a fusion done. I don't need him for Faction Wars hard mode. Even in there, you need to kind of like think a bit about it. Is he really worth it? Yes, the second skill is nice for being able to put the defense down and the block buffs. But you know what? I can live with Fodbor. Fodbor can put AoE defense down too. I don't need the block buffs and he's getting the job done. I cannot justify fusing him literally only for Faction Wars if his damage sucks. Okay, if his damage is good, that's a completely different story. But that's pretty much my take on the champion. Kind of like on the first impression, right? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. It's just that HP-based champions, especially the fusion ones, really don't have a good history of good damage dealers, okay? We have Drang, which is not really a DPS champion. He's more of a debuffer and stuff, so we can't really complain about him. But throughout the time, they've introduced a lot of HP-based fusion champions that were really underwhelming. Verself, for example, really not that great as a damage dealer. He's an HP-based champion. A lot of them. But you guys know this very well. Either way, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. Are you tempted by the fusion? You might go just to collect the Pokemons just because he looks good. It is worth noting that you have a much higher chance to summon fusion champions. So if you're still looking to basically fill up your faction guardians, okay, it might be worth taking him, because you know what, in a week or two you might just summon him randomly from shards. It tends to happen pretty damn often, right? And that can be helpful as well. That was all for this one. Much love. Appreciate all of you guys watching, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.